Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham and this, of course, is the home of common sense. It's TalkTV. And this is the show where you don't have to worry about judging anything because we do it all for you. And I'm delighted to say that we've got a fantastic panel. It's an international one, I have to say. Jeremy Kyle is here. Russell Quirk is here, back from his holidays. And Kinsey Schofield from Los Angeles, California. And Mark Wogan. Mark Wogan. Jeremy, the biggest story probably of the year so far is, to you, the Ministry of Defence blunder stroke cover-up stroke disaster.
I don't think anybody would be surprised that this is going to be nominated. I mean, there are... you said it earlier when we were talking before the show that we come in here every day and every week and we think it can't surely get any worse. And then it does.
Yeah.
Yesterday, in the middle of drive time, this story broke. Extraordinary. So, basically... it seems 3 or 4 years ago, some civil servant, we'll call them that, in the Ministry of Defence, decided stupidly or without reason to send an email containing nearly 20,000 names of Afghans to a variety of places that it shouldn't have gone. Also information on the SAS and MI6 and I think quite a senior guy in the Marines. Everybody panicked and went, oh my God, these people have helped us. I'm just going to make a few points here. I don't know whether all 20,000 were translated and helped us. I'm not saying that they...
It's very possible that many of them did not.
No, absolutely. Anyway, somebody, and this, by the way, is not just the Labour government, this was the Tory government, decided, oh, my God, these people are going to be cast aside and the Taliban are going to get them and they're going to kill them, so we need to protect them. So what they thought would be a good idea would be to bring them to Great Britain in unmarked planes in the midst of everything that's going on.
Under a cloak of darkness.
Because the press were onto it. Get an injunction which became a super injunction, which in layman's terms means you can't breathe a word. So this was kept from the British people for 683 days by 2 consecutive governments, right? This is going to cost, they reckon, I don't know if we've got it, 7 billion. Bear in mind, OK, there's many things I want to say to you. There's 20,000, but they're allowed to bring their families and friends, so I would respectfully suggest that figure could double, treble, or even get to 100,000.
We've seen in the papers all morning today pictures of Afghan families arriving over the course of, say, last year and to now, and it's usually husband, wife, 5 kids. So, I mean, you're talking about a possible number over 100,000.
Absolutely.
There's pictures of families with 10
in fact, I heard Bob Seeley this week say on Talk, it could be technically a city of 150,000 Afghans.
It gets worse. So that's cost us 7 billion. Ministers of the super injunction was taken down. And actually respect to the journalists who fought to get this out, because now the British public... Ministers are worried that there could be a response from the British public who are in a country that is skint, has no public services and whose borders are so open that we're being flooded by migrants, economic migrants, for the left jump up and down, on a daily basis. Yesterday, in the middle of drive time, I get another piece of paper that says that a group of them who have been here and have arrived and have been given everything to the detriment of this country, right, are getting left-wing lawyers to sue the British government, and that could cause another £1 billion. So I give you 8 billion, but I'm going to make the contentious comment that I stand by. In the environment we're in, and we're always talking about women's rights, quite rightly, and safety and all that, you've let 20+ thousand Afghan men into this country and you don't know who the hell they are. I mean, whether it's this guy or governments, this is unbelievable.
It's even worse than that. I mean, you've laid it out. I mean, it's a real doomsday scenario.
I did my
best.
It's
even
worse, not well enough.
On the basis that the government have admitted that, yes, we didn't vet anybody because we had to pull everybody else out. It's basically one of the biggest peacetime evacuations ever.
Except that there's loads of them still there, right?
Yes.
If it's so dangerous, how come they're not dead?
But they've admitted that many that did come here haven't been vetted
how come
properly
they're not,
and are sexual.
No, I know. But the ones who are also still coming have been there ever since this...
For 2 years.
For 2 years since this thing came out. And the Taliban have known about this.
And see the Taliban's comment? We've known about them. We're searching them out anyway.
So what's the point?
But the point is, you're saying to the British people, we all say every day, something's going to give in this country soon. You're saying to the British people again, your streets are amok with criminals. Your borders are, apparently, according to Kinsey, I shouldn't have one, don't get me on that. Your borders are open, right? All that's going on. But there's another 23,000 that we don't know who they are, and they're being treated better than you. It's a disgrace.
Let's hear from Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform. He was on with me.
This is about cover-up. It's about deception. It's about misleading the British people. It's about lying to us. It's about treating us as fools. It is completely and utterly unacceptable. And we should be under no illusion. Had this come out whilst the Tories were still in power, it would have triggered the fall of the government.
Ben Wallace has said that he does not apologise. He doesn't feel that he has anything to apologise
he thinks we're
for.
childish for calling it a cover-up.
Even though the judge, and in a rare moment of sanity from our judiciary, actually said this is an appalling assault on democracy, and this has curtailed free speech and should not have been allowed to happen. Bearing in mind, there's not just one, there's two injunctions. There was the injunction by Ben Wallace, and then there was a super injunction that was imposed by the then Defence Secretary, Grant Shapps.
Have I got 30 seconds?
Go on.
With the Southport riots, actually, the thing that I always thought was that the government knew very quickly what Ruda Bicano was, and it was going on social media. It was a migrant, and that fueled and caused all the problems. The government could have been accused then of not actually opening up to the British people, because I don't think it would have been as bad. Maybe it suited their political ideology, but this is another example. You are hiding from your own people what's going on.
I'm going to blow your brains out now, because there's a memorandum that was sent round to ministers in September of 2024, right, warning that all of the places where the riots took place were places where there was a high preponderance of Afghan refugees.
I saw that.
And everybody knew that. And that's why it happened where it happened. And they knew that, and they covered it up. And that is why Starmer is in just as much deep doo-doo as
he could have cancelled the super injunction in the last 12 months.
Exactly right. Mark?
I want to know the answer to two questions. One, what happened to the person who leaked the stuff in the first place?
Nothing.
Yeah. We don't think anything happened to him.
And secondly, how much Botox is Richard Tice having?
No!
Oh, well, I mean, you'd have to ask him. I mean, you know, he's a good friend of ours.
Can I help with the first question?
Yeah.
The first question. Apparently,
I can help with the second one.
Yeah. I don't want to get involved with the second one.
Face for 15 years.
Yeah. I don't want to get involved with the second one. But the answer to the first question apparently is the statement from the Ministry of Defence is this: that person is no longer involved with the same job.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have a job.
We think
he's not been fired.
We think he might be a Royal Marine, but he's definitely not been fired.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's been a pretty bad week for the government again, because Rachel Reeves had to make a speech at Mansion House in which she kept telling everyone, and Keir Starmer said she didn't cry. In fact, she was looking remarkably happy, considering that she's, sort of proselytising over the most ridiculous economy anybody's ever seen. Earlier this week, she decided to say that she was going to put £1.5 million into chess so that she could actually bring the chess. Because, of course, you might remember, she claimed to be it's a lie.
She's a chess champion and an economist.
Yeah, neither of which was true.
No,
right?
no.
But
she's also the first woman on the moon.
The day after the Mansion House speech, inflation went up to 3.6%, which is the highest it's been since January 2024.
She is seriously
She
bad
is
at the job,
absolutely
isn't she?
terrible at her
I'm
job.
not sure chess was the game that she was playing when she was a kid.
Also,
I suggest it might have been Kaplunk.
I think it was or drafts.
Mousetrap.
Do you remember a drafts champion? But the other thing is that it turns out that the 1.5 million that she's giving to chess actually has already been given by Rishi Sunak. It was money from the Conservatives. No, she
cancelled it and just reinstated it.
She's just basically claiming that it's her money, but of course it isn't. It's actually our money. Anyway, Russell, over to you.
Yeah, talking about our money, the BBC.
Crikey.
Yeah, another debacle. So
what a week for
this
them.
Doesn't relate to Hugh Edwards or Jimmy Savile or Gaza documentaries.
Gary Lineker.
Yeah, or Glastonbury and horrible videos and so on. Another week, another BBC debacle, basically, which is Gregg Wallace, and the fact that obviously he has now been seen to be responsible and guilty of at least half of those 80
just
incidents.
about 48.
Half of those 80 incidents that have been alleged.
Here he's doing a workout.
There he is.
That's nice to watch.
There's another version of this where he's not wearing any clothes.
He's got a sock on
somebody underneath it.
Dog ladies.
So, but the thing is, notwithstanding Gregg Wallace, or whether he was right or wrong, good or bad, I think we can all form our own conclusion there. But it's the fact that the BBC, yet again, like always, did absolutely nothing about it for 20 years. Now that we know the outcome and we know that he's culpable and he was a sex pest, should we say it as it is? It's a sex pest. Who's resigned? Who's been fired from the BBC? No one.
Well, just John Turode and him, but looks.
Well, and that's the thing. John Turode, who apparently said something he can't remember,
in
vaguely
2018.
racist in 2018, and he's immediately been fired. What about Tim Davie? Why hasn't he been bloody fired?
Yeah.
Well, I've met both these men, John Turode and Gregg Wallace.
Were they
Turode, they were, thankfully. But John Turode, lovely man, sensitive, intelligent, good at his job. Gregg Wallace,
not so much.
No.
Total turd.
At the risk of
I love all these TV people. I love surrounding myself with them because they have these stories.
I just want you to listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
I tried to say it yesterday. I have no time for what Wallace did. If John Turode did what he did, I have no time. I think you and your old man, if he was here, would agree with what I'm about to say. It is frankly becoming a joke, that production companies, TV executives and leaders of television networks just literally sacrifice presenters on the altar of something that they may or may not have done 10 years ago. I'm not sticking up for anything that Wallace has done, but how Tim Davie is still alive, how other people who have just done that with there's a team behind. It's like the Gino thing with ITV. If you put him in an apron, start What's It Naked on This Morning, and then it turns out he's a bit of a cheeky chap. I'm not condoning anything he did, but you've got to take responsibility. And to me, it seems, these television... I have an opinion on it. He should be gone, Tim Davie. Public broadcaster, 9 Lives, absolutely outrageous.
Better than getting gone, he's actually been revealed this week to have got a pay rise. He's actually now making
we went to 544,
£544,000,
but
which
this
is
is also the guy that was at Glastonbury when a bit of hate speech is broadcast.
Leave it on demand.
He left it on iPlayer for 5 hours and went back and started drinking again.
But he was even there and asked about it, and he even got a phone call from Lisa Nandy to say, what the hell is this stuff going out on your live stream?
Fine. Don't worry about it.
He's like, don't worry about it.
But I guess, Mike, if you're completely unaccountable, then you would just shrug your shoulders and go, nothing's ever going to happen to me.
I think a bit like politics. I think the British people are going to go, I'm sick and tired of
I think the guy's gone before Christmas.
I think the BBC's in real trouble.
I think it is, absolutely right.
Again.
They're losing so much money as well because people are just not paying the licence fee.
But they're also saving money when they get rid of these big people.
Well,
for things they said 8 years ago. You know?
Can I just read some of this? This is the top
The
20
rich list.
BBC earners. Gary Lineker, obviously still there at the moment. Zoe Ball's on 500.
He's gone, isn't he, Gary Lineker?
Well, he's on the way out, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I guess still being paid. Alan Shearer, £440,000.
Worth every penny,
What do you think?
I mean, didn't the Sun say they've hired Wayne Rooney as well for next year for $800,000? It was $800,000, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
But this is about, I don't know, what's that, £1 billion, I guess. Clive Myrie, 335k. Sarah Cox, 310k. Isn't she responsible for losing more in the way of radio audience than any presenter ever? Your dad, again, would be turning in his grave. Tina Daly, 295,000. Emma Barnett. Victoria Derbyshire, 275,000.
Yeah.
She works 2 hours a week.
Well, listen, you won't get an argument from me. Let's have a look at what Lisa Nandy had to say about it.
Look, I asked the board directly why nobody had resigned or been fired over the series of failures that we've seen recently. What I've had in response is an action plan that is aimed at addressing the reasons why some of these failures happened.
Blimey. Kinsey Schofield.
Hurrah!
Welcome.
Thank you.
Now's your chance.
It's been
because
2 years
you
since she
lot,
was
right?
on.
You lot have not let Kinsey speak, so would you mind letting her speak?
No.
Word in edgeways.
Yeah.
I would like to nominate. I would like to formally nominate Prince Harry
Hurrah!
over this week's very staged-looking PR stunt where we're supposed to believe that there is a royal reconciliation on the horizon, and we're all supposed to just be so gleeful that Harry and Meghan might come back into the fold. The Daily Mail had the scoop that people from Harry's team flew over from California to talk to people from King Charles's team. They get these great shots of them on a balcony at a private club.
Right.
We know the people involved. We know the location. We have these images. We know the content that was discussed throughout this discussion. Harry allegedly furious that it's been leaked and claims that it's not them.
There's a leak in the ceiling.
Exactly. And I think that this is just all a PR stunt from Team Sussex because they are so tired of being villainized. And I was talking to JK about this privately. I'm not the bigger person here, absolutely furious if the royal family were to bring Harry and Meghan back into the fold.
I don't think there's any chance of that. I really
so
don't.
vulgar.
No.
The way that they have tried to tear down this institution that gave them platforms, I think it's been absolutely ridiculous. And so, no, I don't want the Rosé Queen hopping on a private jet from LA to come over and hang out with King Charles so that she can try to hawk more of her loose fruit spread.
Yeah, who needs it? But I see you saying you think that Harry sets up the meeting and then leaks it so that somebody... But I know that club, right? And it's not an easy place to find. And you don't find paparazzis hanging around outside of it in Green Park because it's basically not a very trendy place. Nobody really goes there. I mean, I've got friends who come home from Australia who, because for years and years and years, you know, he was a diplomat or something like that. So they stay there because it's a good place to stay in London. But it's not a place that sort of Londoners go to have a drink. It's just not. And Tobin Andre, bizarrely, I told you this the other day, used to work for the Daily Mail. as well. And he's now the King's communication specialist. So there's an awful lot of rats to be smelled around here, I think.
I think there's more in it for Harry and Meghan, though, than there is for King Charles.
Yeah.
I think...
Yeah, no, the more I think about it, I think you're right, that it was leaked by Harry.
We talked, didn't we, earlier about it? And you sort of, if you separate, you go, right, as a father, right, because I think he's ill, probably he wants to do that. I don't think the British public would accept it at all. I don't think you could trust those two further than you could throw them not to leak something. No. And I think that's really, really important. I think it's all about a look. I'm with you completely.
Also, to be incredibly petty, and I apologise, I know my grandparents are watching. We had such a beautiful week with Catherine, the Princess of Wales. We saw that stallion of a man, Prince William, on a polo horse. It sent pulses racing. I think that Meghan...
Stallion of a man?
Sorry.
That was just me.
I think that Meghan sits in Montecito throwing china.
Yeah, definitely.
And is like, I
love that meme. I've seen it.
Yeah,
you just see her throwing stuff.
Livid that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has some positive headlines and says, you know what, I'm going to disrupt. Today I'm going to throw them off the front pages.
Right. And, I mean, there she was at Wimbledon looking fantastic, the Princess of Wales.
And you would know because you were there.
I was, indeed. Absolutely right.
You never invite me to anything fun.
Was that your champagne cork?
It was not, but thank you for asking. No, we were very discreet about that. Okay. We only opened a couple, actually, while we were in the centre court. Mostly we opened them outside and then carried them in. They give you a little sock to put them in. It's lovely.
I don't think you should talk about
socks.
Socks.
We've been talking about Gregg
Wallace.
Wallace.
A large sock.
Not with Gregg Wallace.
Not
with Gregg Wallace.
One careful owner, no longer employed.
Yeah.
One careful owner, no longer on the turf.
Yes. Mark Wogan, over to you.
Now,
Bilton School.
This is an extraordinary... This is about Bilton School, which is up near Rugby.
Yeah.
Right? And they had a cultural diversity day.
Of course they did.
Right? As schools
As
do
you
now.
do.
As schools do now. And a young lady decided, I'm going to wear a Union Jack dress and celebrate the culture of Britain.
Yay.
And there she is.
12 years old. It's a picture. 12 years old.
Yeah.
12 years old. Grade A student. She even had a little speech prepared where she was going to talk about, you know, the fact that we like tea and we love talking about the weather and we have a royal family and, you know, also speak of our humour and our values.
Yeah. Kinsey, she could be your mate for life.
I know. My Union Jack nails.
Do you think she was allowed to do that?
No.
She wasn't. She was stopped at the school gates going, you're going to need to take that off. You get to be British every day. What?
I mean, unbelievable. We've got a little interview that Courtney Wright talking to The Sun.
She straight away just took me to go get changed. She didn't want to hear about my dress or see it. She just straight away wanted to get changed and not be in it. Another teacher tried to stop me and said, you can't be in that. It's your nationality and not your culture.
You know, because we've discussed it, I count myself as an Irish, right? And every year we have St Patrick's Day, and anybody who likes can put on the Irish flag and do what, you know, wear leprechaun hats and drink more Guinness than is sensible. Why can this kid not turn up at school? That is obviously a sensible, nice
Isn't it very telling what she says the teacher
nationality,
said, which is that Britain is not a culture.
Yeah.
You cannot be British by culture, only by nationality. That is an abhorrent, appalling thing to say.
It's terrible. It's dreadful.
Yeah, and this also is a school, I think, with a record when it comes to some questionable DEI practices.
But even her speech that she'd written, she said, but sometimes at school we only hear about other cultures, which is great because learning about different countries is interesting and important. But it can feel like being British doesn't count as a culture.
Good girl.
Just because it's the majority.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
We should give her a show.
Yeah.
Honestly, she'd be an absolute... But her dad, you could see the anger, couldn't you? I mean, I read
that
he got what he described as a vague apology because he went down to the school because, as you said, they made her wait.
5 hours she was in reception, they reckon.
Yeah, wouldn't let her in. You know,
well, he was
you
trying
can
to
have
get
a second-hand
from work.
uniform. The other thing I loved was somebody from the school saying, you know, if you turned up in a suit of armour or as a nurse, you probably could have come in. What?
But let's
we're supposed to be ashamed of our flag.
Let's make the point as well. People were turning up in other dresses from other cultures and were allowed in. You know, in the world we live in, right? A veiled apology. This is where I love the Sun newspaper and I love this show for this reason. whoever's it was a female, she should be sacked. It is an absolute disgrace. You do not know what's happening inside schools. We've had this conversation on this show so often.
Yeah.
How do we know what our kids are being taught? They're being indoctrinated.
I think we do know. They're indoctrinated by the left.
What about the Spice Girls? I look at that and I think Jerry from the Spice Girls. She used to rock
Can you imagine?
Very similar.
Can you imagine?
And she got to marry a really successful guy. And, oh no, hold on, that's
not so much.
Naughty.
Yeah, you
naughty.
got caught out.
It's not so horny now, is
But
it?
culturally, the Spice Girls did something so significant,
Yeah, exactly.
and little girls like me all of a sudden were enamored with this.
If technically you want to say, if you went as a Spice Girl, that's culture, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, you happen to be wearing a Union Jack dress. Well, can you imagine if this happened in America and somebody wore a Stars and Stripes dress?
Well, if you, a little boy, it's happened to children. I mean, I know it's more political, but if
in
you
California,
wear
that probably does happen, doesn't it?
if you wear like a Trump hat or something, you get sent home. So I've seen similar things happen.
I suppose a Confederate dress would be out of the question.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my God!
Not an
Even
option.
Dixie Chicks had to change their names to the Chicks.
Yeah, and
Shocking,
Lady
that.
Antebellum is no longer that. They're Lady A, yes.
Right.
So that does happen over there. But no, I think that is so sad because she should be so proud of her country and
Isn't it terrible?
But we're not allowed to be. Of our flag, of our country, of
Yeah.
almost anything, of our history, everything's being torn down.
Absolutely awful. Well, listen, that's the first section done, and there's quite a few contenders, I would say. Coming up, I'm going to have my first one. It's a water company, believe it or not. And we've got a county council in there and a bloke who organised a Muslim community to boycott South Yorkshire police over the grooming scandal. Suddenly ended up with an MBE. I don't know how you did that.
Give out.
I mean, for heaven's sake. Anyway, this is Plank of the Week. We'll be back after this.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. Here we are, well into the second section, and I'm going to go with my first nominee, which is the boss of Thames Water. Thames Water, one of the worst-run companies in the whole of Christendom. I say this every time I talk about water companies. You know, how can you make it possible to make a loss on a business which all it involves is collecting something that falls for free from the sky or actually flows through the countryside and with which we are surrounded. And all you've got to do is capture it and give it to people and charge them money for it, and you still make a loss.
But they also have no competitors.
Yeah, when you have no competitors as well.
This sounds like a reasonably easy business.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think, you know, imagine inventing a water company and just going to somebody, you know, going into some, you know, venture capitalist and saying, look, I've got this idea, right? All that water there.
we're an island.
Yeah, no,
It's the water equivalent of the BBC.
People want to have showers and things, right?
So we're just going to process it, sell it to them for lots of money. We're easy, aren't we?
We're going to charge them every year about 40% more than they gave us last year, right? We're just going to keep putting the prices up and up and up. They lost £1.65 billion.
And let's not forget, I'm not an environmentalist, but they pump shit into our rivers every single day of their lives.
And he's got an excuse for that. He says there's a reason why we pump so much sewage into our rivers, and here it is.
I'm sorry about that, but the weather, I'm afraid, is a reason. It's not an excuse. Last winter, before we came into this spring, we had the second wettest winter on record. There were some months, like last September, where the rainfall was more than double the normal monthly rainfall.
You think more water would be good?
Why is there a hose pipe ban then?
Again, I'd have to say, surely if you're running a water company and there's more of it falling from the sky, you'd be going, brilliant, we got more water than we ever needed, we're going to put it all in a reservoir. And they're all going, what's one of those? Because they haven't built any reservoirs to actually hold the water.
The last reservoir we built was 1991.
Yeah, and they still allow something like 100,000 billion litres of water to leak into the ground.
That's every day.
Every single
Why is there a
day.
hose pipe ban?
Because apparently it doesn't rain enough.
Can I tell you very quickly, 30 seconds, for the first time in history since I started working here this week, the train that I take from down on the coast stopped at Woking, and Mike knows this, I couldn't go anywhere. All trains to London. I missed the show on Tuesday. It took me 8 hours to go about 40 miles, and when I get home, I get an email from South West Trains which said, and this is in the centre of a heat wave, owing to a flash sort of rain shower for 10 minutes, the main signal box at Woking was flooded, which is why all the trains were cancelled. I don't get this country.
Can I make a suggestion?
Drive.
Why don't they put the signal box on stilts?
Don't
like they
be
used
clever.
To? And then when it rains, the rain won't...
You're not going to run British Rail or the water company. You're too intelligent.
Put a little roof on it.
I'm not one for nationalisation.
No.
All right? But the idea that Thames Water is a private company and
I
therefore
agree.
operates in the interests of the shareholders.
Yep. But that's exactly why it doesn't fix the leaks.
He's a major shareholder.
But that's why it doesn't fix the leaks. Is because
but hang on. Last year they made 157 million.
Yeah.
This year they've lost 1.65
I'm very
billion.
sorry, business isn't good because it rained too much.
It rained too much, and
they lost
we've lost
too
everything.
much poo. If
We've
only
lost
we'd held on
everything.
to more
What's
poo.
his salary?
We'd have been fine.
He's on about 3 million quid.
No, he's not one of the worst ones. I mean, there are worse ones who are on about 3 million quid. He's about 1 million quid.
Don't water it down.
You know,
Give us the truth.
thank you very much
See you later,
indeed.
yeah.
Let's see that one coming. He looks very florid for a water company boss. Did you not think?
I don't think
Florid,
he's
looks
drinking
red
water.
faced.
Yeah.
I don't think he's drinking enough water.
That is what is known in some
I think he's
some
drinking
areas.
his sewage.
I think that's in some areas known as a tramp's tan.
Yeah, and I can also complain about Thames Water because on, I think it was Tuesday morning, I got up at 4:20, as I always do, to get into work, and I turned on the tap in the bath, and there was no water.
Do you bath in the morning?
No, but the shower is sort of in the bath,
okay.
so it's a combi tap, I think they call it in the trade.
Trade,
in
governor.
a trade.
I've got a combi, mate.
So I
I've
went,
got a combi,
I went
yeah.
and tried the two taps in the kitchen and the sink. No, nothing.
Was this all while naked?
It was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just want to create a picture.
There's nobody else
I just want to paint a
around.
picture.
Yeah, there's nobody else around at that time of the morning, so you know, she'd left. No.
Because she couldn't have a shower.
So
She's out.
No, so I mean, absolutely ridiculous. And it turns out there was a massive flood in a place called South Bermondsey, which is not that far away from where I live. And the water was out for hours and hours
So
and
you
hours.
basically did your breakfast show stinking on Tuesday.
Well, I wouldn't say I was stinking. I had obviously hair and makeup to help me out, so it's fine. Anyway, Jeremy, over to you. With Kent
I
County
nominate, ladies and
Council.
gentlemen, Kent County Council. Reform, of course, won 10 councils in the local elections. One of them was Kent County Council. In the Doge gang went, led by Zia. The reform audit, this is absolutely... And you know when people say, reform, this is just window dressing, they're not going to say... What they found out in Kent County Council, I would respectfully suggest, is the length and breadth of this country. And would it be fun if reform did get in and they found out in Whitehall? The reform audit, ladies and gentlemen, shows that Kent County Council spent the following, right? This is for illegal channel migrants. They've paid for them to go to the circus, to play crazy golf and to receive thousands of pounds worth of Amazon parcels. They spent 100 quid at Fortnum and Mason's, 162 grand at Amazon, 11 grand at Curry's, 70 grand at Argos, 279 pounds to go to the circus, 6,000 pounds at the local swimming pool, 300 pounds on driving lessons and 55 quid at Mr Mulligan's crazy golf. That's the taxpayer.
£6,000 at the local swimming pool?
£6,000 at a local swimming pool.
Now, I've been to swimming pools in Kent. I used to take my kids to Ashford, which they had quite a nice swimming pool.
Yes.
I don't know how you spend £6,000 there.
That's £3 to get in, isn't it?
Yeah, something
That's
like
a
that.
lot of migrants.
And there's nothing to do there.
But can we just get to the point? This is, I mean, I don't know how much this is because
Well,
you
they've got
haven't
a
put
bit
it
of a
down.
flume
But
as
we're
well.
talking nearly £1 million that we're spending, or £500,000, I don't know, on illegal...
You forgot one.
What?
Kent County Council spent £7,000 on McDonald's.
Oh.
Nottinghamshire County
That's not as
Council,
much
by the
as
way.
my children.
Nottinghamshire County Council, maybe a
I was
nomination for
gonna
another
say,
time, spent 40 grand on McDonald's.
That list of expenses doesn't sound dissimilar to the sort of yearly outgoings of the Kyle household.
162 grand on Amazon, yes, I'll go with that. 100 quid at Fortnum and Mason doesn't let me shop there anymore.
I read a sort of a mealy-mouthed lefty explanation for this, right? And this is, you'll like this one.
Yeah.
These are all children, right? And that's why they're taking them to the circus and taking them swimming. But, of course, you know what kind of children they are.
They're 28 years old.
Right, hey, I've come in from Alabama, and here I am, and I'm only 7, right?
Yeah, they've all got
Listen,
beards.
why have you got a
You look
beard?
28. What?
Yeah, listen. I fancy go to Argos and get some toys, all right? You know,
What's that choice, Governor?
And then want to go for a swim and a McDonald's on the way home.
Yeah. Like a Big
I
Mac.
respect-
I don't want one of them kids'
Could I
meals,
just-
right?
could I just
None of
point-
that.
He says with his beard
Could
and
I
his
point out
tattoos.
that if they are... let's take the other side. So they are children, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to sound really boring here. What about British kids from families who have gone to work and can't afford to take them swimming
I know.
or go to Argos, who pay their bills and don't get
listen,
jacked?
I'm not saying that it's in any way acceptable.
Oh, bloody Abdul, who's 28, pretending to be 7.
Exactly. It is absolutely not.
I want to go to the Marvel film or do, and I want to get Bluey later on the way home. Not Bluey as in a film. I'm talking about some child's character before you.
Yeah.
Cartoon.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I bet you
got a weird world.
I bet you say to Russell Quirk, do you want a Bluey? He knows exactly the little pill you
And
take.
the answer is always yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't it not be? I know, but it is.
I mean, I guess if I've seen the Porsche.
This is going to happen over and over the course
You
of
missed the greatest
I
one.
heard her saying something about a Porsche.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
They are tempting.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. This is going to be repeated in every council that everybody goes into and looks at, because the amount of waste and ridiculous overspend.
But these are councils that can't fill potholes.
Yeah, they can't. They're all broke.
This happens in the States too. Why do I have to work, full time? Why am I paying all of my taxes? Why are people entering the country illegally and allowing to play for free? They're handed a cell phone. They're handed a place to live. Why do you have free health care and I'm having to do monthly payments because I can't afford to pay, my doctor's bills?
Right.
I think it's not motivating when you are working your butt off to survive and you see people illegally come into the country,
and be given free stuff.
Exactly.
And I think that on both sides of the pond is really now the moment, which is, if Britain's always been the leader, we're moral with this, whether we're apologising for the past or whatever. But here's the thing, and you say it to me every day, we can't even afford the interest on the debts we've got. We are skin. And if you are saying to people in this country, thanks for paying your tax, not breaking the law, not having a handout, but you know what? Okay, I know I keep tax. You're 20th in the queue behind some people who've paid bugger all because they're getting more. That doesn't wash, Mikey, not in the end.
But politicians genuinely scratch their heads as to why we have this problem. And I would just humbly suggest it's a question of incentive. If you give people tellies and circus lessons and driving lessons
about
and
a deterrent.
Swimming. I mean,
do you know what the deterrent to stop migration
is? Why people continue to come in.
But the deterrent is stop being such a soft touch.
Yes.
People to stop coming.
It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Just arrest them and put them in a detention centre and take them home.
In the Falklands.
Russell, over to you. Muhbeen Hussain.
Yes, more infuriation, I'm afraid. Muhbeen Hussain, MBE, I might add.
Yeah.
He's an MBE for very, very good reason. So this is the man that a few months ago, when it came to riots that obviously happened as a consequence of Southport, decided to issue an edict to his fellow Muslims in the Muslim community, which was that they should separate themselves from Westerners, that they should boycott the South Yorkshire police, and that ultimately they should protect themselves by having nothing to do with the rest of us.
Then why don't you leave and go back to a country where you don't want to live by the rules that we have in this country?
If that were not outrageous enough in terms of it being divisive, and actually some might argue a little bit racist, actually, it sounds to me. Instead, recently, he's been awarded an MBE, but for services to cultural improvement and integration.
Oh, my God.
Please.
Who is it that puts these idiots on the list? Well, who are the idiots that put the idiots on the list?
Presumably, there'll be somebody in Yorkshire who is nominated him, right, who will no doubt be from his community.
He'll be a community leader.
Right, and a community leader, and like the people the police like to speak to all the time when there's trouble, right? And no doubt they'll be too frightened not to put him on the list and then give it to him because they'll be accused of racism.
But it's a reward.
Right, that's the way it works, isn't it?
It's a reward for being divisive. I mean, it's the epitome of a two-tier approach to society, and he gets awarded for it.
But he's being awarded for the opposite of what he actually does.
Well, they see that what he did to protect his community by moving the community away from the rest of us and by boycotting the police, they see that as somehow being a good thing and protectionist.
Do you know where I think the future lies for him? It's either in the MOD or the BBC.
Yeah. Well, somebody asked me that question this week about, the state of the public sector in this country. It doesn't do what it's meant to do. None of it. The Ministry of Defence is not actually now designed to be anything to do with defence. It's everything to do with being woke.
It seems to me it's always one. It seems to me that we're now entering territory whereby it really is one way. And victims are screwed and taxpayers are screwed and people who live by the rules are screwed, and we make excuses for almost every single other person. And if you stand up and say, how is that justifiable? You get called all the names under the sun. The beauty of this network is, and we speak to thousands of people, and they all go, what the hell's happened to this country? It doesn't make you racist or far right to say, hold on a second, mate. You're saying, you talk about everybody integrating. You're deliberately saying to a collection of people from a different religion, separate from those people. Why do you want to? My father-in-law says to me, and a couple of his sons really argue with him. He says, I don't have any problem with anybody coming to this country, but why do they come here having escaped a country that apparently is so archaic and wrong, and then spend their entire time bashing everything about the United Kingdom and trying to change it?
It makes no sense.
But unless you are absolutely freighted money-wise, like a few people at this table, but unless you are freighted money-wise, it gets harder and harder to exist. You used to go to the supermarket, you would spend 100 quid on your weekly shop and you'd leave with 4 bags. Do that now, you leave one bag. Right? That's how it works now.
Right.
And you see
there's somebody over there nicking 5 bags and they're just walking up.
Yeah, exactly. And there is no accountability.
No.
There doesn't appear to be any cohesive thinking about how we're going to solve this situation, other than we keep giving the responsibility to people who are unable to deliver on it. Mm-hmm. So you've got
unable or too scared?
Well, no, but you've got a chancellor now who just is making it worse and worse and worse on a daily basis, and she should be turning the taps off on stuff like this.
Yeah.
She should be going, I'm sorry, local government, if that's what you're spending it on, no more.
But they
Thank
won't,
you very
see,
much.
because they're terrified of losing all these votes that keep them in power.
But
or there to be an uprising, there to be some kind of riot, either in that particular community or in another particular community, on the basis of the way that these people are behaving. So they're worried about losing votes, but they're also worried about a fragmentation of community.
But if you as the majority, say, for example, you have a daughter who would like to wear a Union Jack dress to school to celebrate her culture. If you as the majority stand up, wave your virtual flag of "I'm not happy about this," if you are discriminating because you're the majority, you're discriminating.
I'm going to say
I bet you they'd let somebody in with a Palestine dress.
This is contentious. I wonder how long you could argue that side would be the majority. That's what's happening.
Yeah, it is. In some parts of the country, it is. Absolutely right. London's one of them.
Yeah.
Coming up, though, get a bit serious, guys. So we're going to go back to something funny.
We're going back to Kinsey.
Kinsey Schofield is going to have a Sesame Street character for us. And then there's some fishing coming up as well. This is Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're more than halfway through already, and I think we've already found the winner. However, there's still time. There is still time. Kinsey Schofield, I think for the first time, a Sesame Street character.
I know. I feel like I'm breaking some hearts here.
Yeah.
My heart was broken when I opened up Twitter, X, formerly Twitter, to see Elmo of Sesame Street tweeting anti-Semitic horrible rhetoric.
Oh my God!
And I know we have to acknowledge the fact that someone hacked this account, this Elmo account that recently went viral. Remember when it went viral a few years ago because he tweeted something like "How are you?" and everybody was like, "Oh, it's so sweet. Elmo is asking us how we are." Well, now he's tweeting horrible things, but it was a hack. Somebody failed to set up their two-factor verification. So everyone at this table, everyone watching, make sure you set up your two-factor verification. But really, I just...
He has no idea what you mean.
I know, it's adorable.
What am I doing? Yeah. Just show me how to do this.
Do I send that? What do I do? Sorry.
But I think that this is such a sad reflection of our culture, that we've become desensitized to, anti-Semitism, and it's not just in the States. I see it over here
as well.
too.
Very much so. But isn't it funny though? This is, I think, the first time in the history of Twitter that somebody who claimed that they'd been hacked actually were hacked. Here's how NBC News reported it.
Sesame Street scrambling to do damage control today. Elmo's full of wonder. After Elmo's ex got hacked this weekend. The account of America's favorite furry red monster shocking its 500,000+ followers with a string of posts, not only making anti-Semitic and racist comments, but also a derogatory reference to President Trump in connection to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation.
So do we have any idea who was the hacker in this? Was it some professional outfit or some 15-year-old kid in, Pasadena?
Yeah, I imagine that it was solo. I imagine that it was not a group. Like, sometimes we talk about anonymous, or I think it was just...
I guess we can't show the tweets, right?
I wouldn't.
I don't know.
So there was there was a lot of sparks were flying. It was like it's in Elmo's file.
Oh, very good. Nice Brat Pack reference there.
Yeah.
I think I'm just incredibly disappointed that I just think I'm incredibly disappointed that this has become a normal thing.
Yeah. I know.
That people feel comfortable talking this way.
And people then justify it as well, right?
Yes.
But here's Elmo reacting to being hacked.
Last night on X, you went on a rant targeting Jews.
Elmo was hacked.
So you say so. Okay, but Cookie Monster was in here earlier, and he said he was with you when you were posting that stuff on X.
If noticing patterns and connecting the dots makes me anti-Semitic, then
Ooh, guilty as charged. Elmo, stop. All right.
Obviously, that wasn't the real Elmo.
Yeah,
that was a fake Elmo. I wonder if there's
that.
going to be some copyright issue there, because presumably Sesame
I know
Street
you said
are
it's a bit deep, but can I just throw something else in?
Yeah.
I think all racism is abhorrent, but
Yeah.
why is anti-Semitism not looked upon so badly as other racism? Why is
having-
it?
yeah,
It's separated out. Like,
Thank you very
like
much.
It's a separate thing.
But it's treated that way, isn't it?
It is, and
Well-
it just seems like it's rampant now. I mean, I'm horrified by the things that I see and the things being yelled on our streets.
Yeah.
It's just devastating.
And that's the problem. It's become normalised. I mean, there's a
Can I just
report that
suggest
came out
why?
here
I
just
think it's-
last week
Yeah.
that said that it's become normalised, and it's normalised because there are so many what you might call famous people, celebrities, and people
I would suggest
who are coming out
because
with it.
those that are normally outraged by such things
Yeah.
are the left, and it's the left that are more likely to be anti-Semitic, and that's why you don't get an outrage.
That's
Right.
wild.
I know. It is
Absolutely
extraordinary.
wild and true.
Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, let's talk about fish.
Well,
Mark Wogan.
look, it's not so much fish.
Right.
All right. So the Grimsby Fishing Centre,
Right.
which is, a heritage centre for the great industry
Stinks.
of fish. Well, yeah, I mean...
That's it.
That is it. That is it.
Yeah, that's the job centre.
No. Look. There, we're seeing the heritage, the history.
That's a thrill a minute. Are they taking any migrants
the fact
there?
that they all go and get drunk
check it out.
afterwards. But
No, take me to the
Didn't
circus.
have a very good catch. There was no lobster, but a couple of migrants off the coast today. They got there's one.
But look.
working
So
very
look
hard.
at that. That is quite obviously a trawler in around about probably the 1800s. They come back, they get drunk.
Very
in a pub,
popular bar
They do all
where
of that.
nobody drinks.
The Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre is reviewing its collection of material relating to the now decimated fishing fleets because they're worried that it may relate to colonialism, colonialism and racism.
Oh, for God's sake.
Okay.
Right?
Well,
For
hang on.
God's
Being
sake.
the fishing industry in the 19th century is racist.
Yes.
Okay, of course it is.
How is it racist? They're only going out into the North Sea, aren't they?
Yeah.
Where are they-
Because
it's
it's
not like they're going
very far.
Hold on
it's not
a
like
second.
they're going
These
out-
fish
Hang on.
come from a different country and they've been pulled into a net by some divisive Englishman
Yeah.
and sliced up.
Yeah, but it's not like they're going to the South Pacific and taking over an island or something.
Right.
Oh, hands are up.
They're
that another time.
looking. The whole reason for all of this is the Grimsby Fishing Heritage Centre want to protect characteristic groups.
What does that mean?
No
Mackerel, cod, haddock. What does that mean?
I mean, are we talking about the fish or the fishermen?
Right.
Everything that we've done.
Why do they have
or
to
are.
rewrite history?
I know.
Everybody in Grimsby that went fishing was probably white. There might have been somebody
a bit like that
who
little
wasn't.
pastiche
There
there.
might have been somebody who wasn't because, there were a very small number of black people who lived
Do you
in
think
Britain.
they're white bait the whole time?
White
That would have
bait.
been wrong,
White
so-
bait is what it is. It's
See?
white bait. It is.
These
These are on show on their own at the moment.
That's not bad, that.
But these are people who worked hard.
Yeah.
It's a
They
tough
died
job
doing
being a
it.
trawlerman.
Yeah.
They died.
Yeah.
They went out, and now all of a sudden it's like.
Mark, what are they
It
going to
might
do?
have
Close
some
it
links
down?
to colonialism.
Are they going to
Said
close
it right that
Are
time.
they going to close it down?
Well, no, they're going to review like that little scene there. They're going to have a good
That's
long look at
unbelievable.
that and see if any part of it might be deemed
seriously, are they
racist.
going to
Oh my
repaint some of those
gosh.
wax figures a different colour? Is that what they're
Maybe.
gonna do?
I don't know.
And the next thing you'll hear is you can't show a bar because that could encourage people with an alcohol problem to go and have a drink. The world's gone nuts.
As a person with an alcohol
And
problem,
certain-
doesn't do that to me.
Right.
Cultures that don't drink
Grimsby,
alcohol.
also, Grimsby, it's famous for fishing, isn't it? And freight, that's it.
Yeah. And a,
Fishing
and a
freight is one other
comedy
word we
with
give it,
Sacha
but-
Baron Cohen.
Have a look.
Brothers.
Have a look at a map of Great Britain. The Humber is
Yes.
exactly where the bottom is.
Yeah, that is exactly
And
right.
Grimsby's about 10 miles up.
Grim.
That's all I'm saying.
Anal canal.
In Grimsby. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I didn't see. That's terrible.
enough. No, see, you've gone too far now.
Yeah.
Now, coming
that was
back-
outrageous.
Coming back, we're going to get the end of the show, so we'll get the winner. But I've got one more nomination
Have you?
to do, and also a special mention, which you've started to build into the show. Not a plank, but just a special mention. That's coming up next.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and we are nearly finished with the show this week. But before we decide, we've got one more nomination and also a special mention this week. And the special mention goes to Ed Davey. And I'm not going to really say anything else. I'm just going to show you a clip of Ed Davey and what he said.
I think the BBC needs to do a better job, needs to hold Nigel Farage to account. And if I have to come on your programme to do that, I'll do just that.
Speaking for this programme, when we've spoken to him, we've certainly challenged anything he said, as we would challenge all of you.
I'm sorry.
I would have thought
I don't think you're doing... I'm sorry.
I thought
I love the BBC.
Democrat,
I love the BBC.
As a Liberal Democrat, I thought you would be interested in the media covering all voices in politics.
Yeah, so apparently he's not happy because he says they don't challenge Nigel Farage enough when he turns up to say anything.
Do you know what's so obvious?
Yeah.
They're bloody terrified of him, all of them, aren't they? They're terrified.
And this Afghanistan business, and the Afghanistan business has made his likelihood of becoming
Ed Davey, known for what? Putting on a couple of suits and doing some bungee jumps, idiots.
Falling into the water, yeah. Speaking of idiots, how about this? Have a look at this question in Parliament this week. This was terrific. Lee Anderson from Reform asking Ed Millipede.
By how much would the Earth's temperature be reduced by if the UK became net zero tomorrow? Simple question.
And the answer, which he just doesn't want to accept, is this. If he just listens, the answer is this. I believe in British leadership. I believe in Britain's ability to make a difference. And the truth is, when we, as I said in my statement, when we passed the Climate Change Act, 60 countries followed. When we legislated for net zero, many other countries followed. He talks Britain down. I believe in Britain.
What?
So, of course, the next time anybody asks you what's going to happen when we get to net zero...
I believe in leadership.
You just say, I believe in Britain. Yeah. And that's all you have to say.
But you asked it before he did.
Yeah.
You said, I heard Mike on the radio say, so if we get to net zero by 2050, what, do we get a medal? And do they set a minus figure? What do you actually achieve?
Nothing happens. Nothing.
No, nothing.
Nothing happens.
Ridiculous.
But they're still, this week, they've been cramming themselves into the news, the Green Brigade, right? Old Jürgen has been announcing more money to be given away. This is GB Energy, of course.
He hasn't got an office.
He hasn't really got an office. He's going to give some money, some of our money, to libraries and other places around the country. Yeah, so that they can get cheaper energy. Which means basically we'll be subsidising libraries so that they can heat themselves.
And Mike, didn't your friend Dale Vince suggest this week that being a climate denier should be criminalised?
Anybody who doesn't believe in climate change, you should be prosecuted.
Well, I'm going to jail then.
Yeah, we're all going to jail.
We're all going to jail.
These people are as thick as mint.
They really are. But worse than that, and this will be one up your street, Russell, it's about cars, right? They've tried to come up with this plan. £650 million they want to spend on grants to persuade people to buy electric cars. So if you fancy buying an electric car, they will give you £3,750 towards the cost of it, right?
And my response is, if electric cars are that good and that worthy and that wonderful from an environmental point of view, why do you have to bribe people to buy them?
Exactly.
They encourage us in California to buy them, and then they tell us we cannot utilize our air conditioning during the summer because we don't have enough electricity. Then how are you supposed to power your car if we don't have enough electricity to put on your air conditioning?
Can you stop it with your common sense?
Now listen, I own an electric car.
Oh.
Turn your back.
Mike Graham has been in my electric car.
I have been in it, yeah.
And I would like to go on record as saying... Can you put me on the camera, please?
Uh-oh.
No,
I would like to go on record as saying electric cars are crap.
Thank you.
Have you really got it?
I hate it.
He hates it. But what's worse, right, the other thing they wanted to do this week was they also want to give £25 million, this is another Heidi Alexander idea, to make you put in a gully in your pavement, right? This is brilliant.
This is for cable.
Outside, this is a gully, right? So it's a little thing like this.
The man that feels at first slip.
They want us to build our own open sewers.
We've only got 2 minutes, right? So I have to do this quickly. It's basically a trench which you dig and you pay somebody £1,000 to dig. It comes from your front door, goes across your front garden, across the pavement, into the gutter. You run your electric cable down and you plug it into your car, right? And thereby people don't trip over it. The only problem with this particular idea is unless your car's parked right outside your house on the street, you can't do it. But nobody can ever.
What do you live in a flat?
Well, that doesn't work for you either.
On the street,
but here's Heidi Alexander when she was selling this to everybody, telling us about her experiences of electric cars.
You would like all of us to buy more electric cars. I would. And at the moment, only 20% or so of new cars sold in this country are electric. They are expensive. They can be a bit of a hassle. If you live in a flat or you don't have a driveway, if you're not lucky enough to have a big, long driveway, it's not easy to plug your car in.
If I had an EV, I'd be asking myself questions about how I would get the electric cable across.
So you don't have
car.
one. So the Transport Secretary doesn't have an electric car, but you're telling everyone else to have one.
I don't have an electric car, Laura.
Can I just say, she can have mine.
Sorry, so she doesn't have an electric car to pick up her kids from private school? No, she doesn't. No, brilliant.
No. Now listen, I think there's only one
Here
winner
are the
this
keys.
week.
Come pick them up.
And I'm going to go a little off-piste here because you might think I'm going to say it's got to be the MOD.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
It's going to be Bilton School.
Yes.
Bilton School. Right?
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Courtney Wright, the sort of heroine of the week.
Yeah. Do you know the name of the head teacher at all?
We don't.
They should sack her.
But we could find it.
I think if we were allowed to vote, and obviously this isn't a democracy here, I think we all would have agreed that is the right decision.
Absolutely.
So here you go. Plank of the week. Bilton School. What an absolute collection of planks. Jeremy Kyle, Russell Quirk, Kinsey Schofield, Mark Wogan, and
Michael Graham.
Thank you very much indeed, and we'll see you next week for more plankery.